Alright, in this video we're going to be talking about stretching versus shrinking, another transformation. So first thing is if m on your line, your slope is greater than 1, you're stretching, and if your a and your exponential over here is greater than 1, you're stretching. So basically the leading coefficient, and we'll talk about that in a minute again, but if it's greater than 1, you're stretching. Alright, and then if it's between 0 and 1, both of them, m or a, then you are going to be shrinking. And remember, things in between 0 and 1 are fractions, like 1/2, 2/3. Now, don't just call it all fractions, because we have fractions like 6/5 that are actually more than 1. So we want fractions that are between 0 and 1. So numbers like this 6/5 would actually be a stretch. So to get going, we've got our parent y equals x in red. We've got y equals 5x in blue and y equals 1/2 x in green. And I want you just to make a connection real quick with slopes. 5 is a slope, 1/2 is a slope, and our slope up here in front of x is 1. Alright, so go ahead and just think about for a minute, forget stretching and shrinking, what this slope actually means. So for the blue one, it means we're going up 5 over 1. In comparison, my parent was only up 1 over 1. So I'm already stretching in a sense, if you think of it that way, because if I'm going up 5 instead of just up 1, I'm stretching vertically. I'm going further up vertically. So my line is going to be steeper naturally because my slope is bigger. All right. Likewise, if my slope is smaller, it's a fraction, 1/2, I'm going up 1 over 2. So I'm still going up 1, but I'm not just going over 1. I'm going over more than 1. All right. So if I had a slope like 2 over 3 or 4 over 7, I'm running, these bottom numbers are your run, remember, your rise over your run. I'm running more than I am climbing up and down. So I'm naturally going to be less steep. I'm going to have a less slope going on. And so if your number is a fraction, remember 0 to 1, you're actually going to be shrinking. And if your slope, your number in front, bigger than 1, you're going to be stretching. And if it's equal to 1, you're doing nothing. So if you have a slope of 1, you haven't stretched or shrink. Alright, so here's some practice. So you're looking at the number in front of your parent, which for us is y equals x on the left. So this is a 2, which is more than 1, so it's a stretch by a factor of 2. This is a 1/3, so that's between 0 and 1, so it's going to be a shrink. Alright, this one, no, the number in front of x is 1. Some of y'all are looking at this negative and saying, oh, it's got to be a shrink because it's negative and that's less than 1. Remember, we don't care if it's less than 0. That's what negative is. We want it to be a number between 0 and 1, which means it's still got to be positive. So this negative you can kind of just disregard. And if you have watched the video already on reflecting over the x-axis, that negative, all it is there for is to tell us it's reflected. We're a negative slope now. That's it. So really, this one has done nothing because the 1 in front means I haven't stretched or shrank. Alright, same thing here. Who cares about this negative? That's just showing us we've reflected. We care about the number, the slope. So that's more than 1, so we are stretching. Alright, then your exponential, same idea. You want the number in front of your parent, which is 2 to the x here, and that's bigger than 1, so we are stretching. This one's between 0 and 1, so we are shrinking. This fraction's between 0 and 1, so we're shrinking. And this number is more than 1, so we're stretching. And again, just to remind you, keep in mind, you have fractions like 7 over 4 that are actually greater than 1. So this would actually be a stretch. So just because it's a fraction, don't automatically assume it's going to be a shrink, because it may not. So you got to be careful. So here's your practice, and answers are already there. So on this one, instead of pausing, just make sure you can verify. So I'll give you a minute to see if you know why it is, and then I will go and show you. Alright, so the first one's a stretch because, again, we don't care that this is negative. That just means we're reflected. We're looking at the number, so that is bigger than 1, we're stretching. Alright, this one, this is between 0 and 1, so we're shrinking. Again, don't care about the negative. We want the number in front of the parent, which is 1/3, so that's a shrink, and then we want the number in front of the parent, which is 4, which is a stretch. Alright, so until next time, keep practicing.